Hello everyone, I'm Tim. Have you ever thought about self-defense for kids? Last week we talked about karate for children. Long story short, the idea to teach children karate existed from the beginning. My take back from it though was that it mostly served adults, specifically adult teachers, as an 18-year-old with 10 years of karate experience is easier to teach than an 18-year-old beginner, right? It was more an idea of,
That's not what karate can do for you. Ask what you can do for karate.
today I would like to talk about it the other way around. What is ultimately the true purpose of karate? Paraphrasing Itosu's first precept, it is to defend yourself from criminal violence. I mentioned before that these criminals behave like predators, seeking out the most vulnerable members of our society, at least those that look most vulnerable. Typically, this means women, the elderly, the sickly, and yes, children. So, knowing this, it should be obvious that these groups should all have some notion of self-defense, and I may do some videos on the other groups in the future, but for now, let's focus on children's self-defense. First of all I'm about to tell you is greatly dependent on where you live, as different places present different dangers. More on that later. Secondly, even though danger doesn't magically manifest itself to children at any particular age, I do believe that there is a certain age where it's more appropriate to start teaching them to defend themselves. What I think is a proper age corresponds with what I found while researching this subject, namely, the child is ready to learn about self-defense as soon as it understands right from wrong, and it's able to understand when something or someone is dangerous. Now, this can be pretty young. Even 4 to 5-year-olds can have some basic notions of these concepts. Be careful though, as no two children are alike, these ages are not a golden rule. Use common sense at all times. So, should we teach children self-defense? Yes. At what age? Depends on the child's understanding of danger. But what should we teach them? You can't teach a child the same techniques to be readily used you would teach an adult. The basics, though, should always be this. Self-defense should at all times allow you to escape the source of danger and get you back to safety, either by disabling your assailant and/or by outrunning them. The child should be taught to change its reactions from a fight, flight, freeze response to a fight-flight response, ideally to escape safely. The main advantages for children to learn self-defense are of course closely linked to the advantages of children learning martial arts in general. You can take a look at my previous video for these by clicking up here. Depending on where you live, the need for self-defense will differ. So if you live in a place where it's more dangerous, where there is more criminality, the need to teach children the basic concepts of self-defense will be much higher. But the need for vigilant parental figures will be much higher as well. You will need to make it clear to them what dangers there are, much in the same way children are taught to look left and right before crossing the street. Slogans like stranger danger, don't take candy from strangers, etc. are a great starting point. Children can be taught some easy strategies to use when faced with dangerous situations. Self-defense for children can be summed up like this. When alone and faced with the danger of criminal physical violence, a child should be able to avoid this by being able to flee to safety. This flight must be optimal and may need to be enabled by causing physical harm to the assailant. So there's a lot of information in this statement. First of all, the child has to be able to identify the threat. so it has to have good observational skills as well as the reflex to flee when it's not sure about safety. Secondly, the violence has to be criminal. There is a difference between criminal and, let's say, a classmate in an intense football game. We can expect some moderate violence in our daily lives. That doesn't warrant true self-defense. Thirdly, the child needs to be able to identify safety. A child can run away until it no longer sees the assailant, but this doesn't mean the danger is gone. The main priority should be for the child to get to either parents or an authority figure like a teacher or a police officer. Fourthly, the flight must be optimal, so the child may need to resort to violence itself to enable it to run away. This means anything, from kicking a criminal in a sensitive area, throwing dirt, pebbles, or sand into the eyes, or even shouting as hard as they can, anything that'll make the assailant hesitate their attack. In this part, the child could use techniques it learned in martial arts classes. You see, most of these subjects are quite similar to adult self-defense. It's only logical, because the end goal is always the same: the transition from danger to safety. Finally, the need for children's self-defense, though, is really up to the guardian of the child. When a parental figure succeeds in keeping the child safe, which is, after all, one of their main responsibilities, there is little need for self-defense. Next week, we'll talk about shouting in karate, when we'll examine the concept of ki. So, what do you guys think of this? Do you feel children's self-defense is a necessity where you live or in general? And why? At what time, if ever, does it become necessary? Leave a comment down below and I'll try to answer it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you get notified when new videos are posted. For now, let me wish you a great, safe day. And as always, thanks for watching.